Welcome to the Grow My Salon Business podcast, where we focus on the business side of hairdressing. I'm your host, Anthony Whitaker, and I'll be talking to thought leaders in the hairdressing industry, discussing insightful, provocative, and inspiring ideas that matter. So get ready to learn, get ready to be challenged, get ready to be inspired, and most importantly, get ready to grow your salon business. Hello and welcome to today's episode of the Grow My Salon Business podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Whitaker, and it's great to have you here with us today. I've been a hairdresser for many years and I've worked in many countries and I've had a great career. And I 100% believe that you, the salon owner, are the backbone of the industry. And you survive and thrive through your determination and hard work. And so you deserve to win and you deserve to succeed, because every day you get up and you do it again by serving and taking care of the clients and serving and taking care of your team and coming up with new ideas about what it takes to run a successful salon business. And we are here to help you in any way we can. So thank you for joining us once again. So with that said, on with today's show. Every salon owner I've ever met wants to know how to manage costs and improve profit margins. And both of those topics are covered in depth in our online money course. And amongst the many solutions we talk about in the course is the potential to use colour management systems to help reduce waste and improve consistency. Now, as you probably know, we don't take advertising on our podcast. And so anyone I interview on the show is because I think there is an interesting story or product that has the potential to help salon owners to grow their business. So today, my guest is Janine Simons, who is the founder of Colour Bar Manager. And in today's podcast, we will discuss the day Janine woke up and decided the world needed a new colour management app. We're also going to talk about how Colour Bar Manager works and what it does differently to its competition and lots more. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Janine Simons.
Hey, Anthony. It's so great to be here with you today. I have been a fan of yours for a long time, certainly been following your podcast and grow your salon business for a while. So it's great to be here tonight to chat with you.
Fantastic. Well, I'm looking forward to the opportunity to talk to you as well, because as I was just mentioning to you before we started recording, there's somebody who I know that was looking into different colour management systems, and your name came up in the process. So I thought I have to get you onto the podcast to have a talk about that. So I've already sort of preempted, I suppose, what the first question is going to be, which is essentially, there was a day, I mean, you're a hairdresser, obviously. There was a day where you woke up and you thought to yourself, I'm going to develop my own software so that I can better manage colour costs and inventory. And that's not something that everybody thinks of. So tell us about that day. What's the story behind how you got into this area?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, first things, great that you're hearing about me from other people and comments and things online. That's awesome. Yeah, so Colour Bar Manager, the idea came to me probably maybe 5 years ago now, it'll be about 5 years ago. And I was actually sitting in my lounge doing a whole lot of book work at the time, sort of a lot of administration and stock and inventory. I've always been across managing that to the nth degree, because I feel like in salons, it's one of the areas we hemorrhage money and spend a lot of time. Mm-hmm. And so I was sort of sitting there doing my numbers, thinking about all the things. And recently, within the week or two prior, I'd seen like this Weight Watchers or weight loss management program where they were weighing food and managing their diet through this system. And I thought, oh my gosh, we should absolutely do that with colour. Why are we not doing this with colour in salons when we need to be capturing that kind of data? So that idea just hit me out of the blue, and using sort of Bluetooth scales and all of the things to manage it. I mentioned it to my husband, who said, that's a ridiculous idea. What are you even thinking? And so I kind of car parked it, as you do, close to you says, no, you're mad, or that's like a harebrained idea. So I car parked it for a bit, and then I went on a trip overseas, and I was working with a whole lot of hairdressers at the time, and I kind of chatted to a few of them about it, and they were like, absolutely brilliant idea. I've seen somebody else thinking about doing the same thing. So that motivated me, and I came back to New Zealand and thought, right, I'm going to get started on this idea. And that's how the idea was born.
Okay. Well, I knew there'd be a story behind it. That's interesting about the scales and the food,
Mm.
as to where ideas come from. And yeah, that's very interesting. And often you do see stuff in other industries that have got nothing to do with hairdressing that you think, do you know what? If we did that in the salon, it'd be fantastic. I often look at marketing examples and client experience touch points that you might find in a hotel or a restaurant or whatever, and think, how can we integrate that into a salon? So that's a really interesting story behind how that came about. So let's just start with the big picture thing of Color Bar Manager. Is it an app on your phone? Is it a website? Is it both? Just, tell us how it works from that perspective.
Yeah, sure thing. So actually, it's currently both at the moment. So we do have an app that stylists use in the salon. So it's an iPad-based app. So it can be used on iPads or iPhones. And then we have a web-based version. And so the web-based version is more of recent years, like the last year or two. And the reason we've moved to more of a web-based is because then you can use it across any platform. It gets very tricky to develop apps for both Android and Apple and, meet all the people in all the places easily. Sure. So our web-based platform has been a recent addition and it's actually much better. So we're starting to move that way now as opposed to an app. Yeah.
Okay. So when did you launch it? Was it sort of I'm sure it was a gradual rolling out thing to iron out any bugs, but like when did is there a date where you went, turn it on, we're away, up and running?
Yeah, 100%. So we officially launched 3 years ago. And it was a very soft kind of launch because, when you're launching technology, we did lots of rounds of beta testing and had some salons trialing it for us along with my own salon, of course, and then softly launched to the market. But we're global now, so we have people signed up all across the world, different size salons, different needs in different salons. So yeah, it's a slow build, but it is going well. So yeah.
Is it becoming the bigger part of your business, or are you still in the salon? I know you work as an educator and you travel a lot and stuff, but this has the potential to be something really huge. Where is it in the big picture at the moment?
Yes, it is actually starting to become front and center for me now. So I do all of those things as you just mentioned. The salon is still very much a big part of my life, and I feel like the two go together really well. So I don't have any intention of giving the salon up anytime soon. However, my time and energy now is becoming much more focused on Color Bar Manager, and I'm super excited about that and ready for it. Like the business is ready for that now too.
Yeah. Now, starting any software requires capital investment, an area of technical expertise, which I'm assuming that you don't have. Maybe I'm assuming that wrongly, but I certainly don't know anything about code and developing apps, etc. So when you had this bright idea, you had to then take it the next stage. So how did you do that? Did you contact like people that you knew? Was it friends, family? What's that sort of journey look like to turn the idea into reality?
Yes, I guess that can be something that can be a bit of a barrier. And, generally speaking, salons, hairdressers, we're a little bit technical phobic too. So yeah, that's been a bit of a journey. Just to go back a few paces, I actually created an app, it would be probably 12 years ago, that was a consultation tool.
Okay.
And we were well before our time. People didn't even really have iPads in the salon back then. So
yeah,
it's a leap too far. I think we'd do very well with the same product now. There's a lot more people in that consultation space. But during that journey, I actually met a developer. So when I had this idea, I actually went straight back to my original developer, and we're business partners. So
right.
For the most part, sure, we've had to invest some cash. You always do with these kind of projects. However, for both of us, it's been a larger injection of time.
Right. Okay.
So codes, and I'm the IP and the marketing and the story. So it's been a great journey for the two of us together so far, and we have about 3 or 4 other people that work with us on the team now too. With regard to design, data analysis, that kind of thing. So we're growing slowly but surely. Yeah.
Cool. Good. But it's just the two of you that are partners in it.
Yes, just the two of us that are partners. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Now, the obvious question is, I'm not sure what number this will be by the time this podcast comes out, but over the last 3 or 4 years, I have interviewed 3 or 4 other people that have got color management apps out there in the industry space. You obviously are aware of that. Maybe you were or weren't aware of it when you decided that you wanted to do one. What I wanted to ask you about was, what did you perceive as the shortcomings in, available color management systems? Because some people might have had your idea, but then gone off and done a bit of research and thought, oh, someone else is already doing it. In fact, there's 2 or 3 other people at least that are already doing it. I'll just get one of them. But obviously you didn't make that decision to get one of them. And instead you decided to develop your own. And I'm going to assume that was because you thought, well, they've got an interesting way of doing it, but I think my way of doing it's even better still. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, 100%. So yes, I actually think we all probably had the same idea around the same time, in all honesty. So because there was 1 or 2 just on the market when I had the idea, because obviously I Googled and searched to see if there was anything else out and around. 100%. I felt like we could do it better and more simply and more affordably. So one of the things that is a big driver for me is I feel like everybody has the right to do great business. And sometimes when these tools are available, they seem to be available for only top or highly successful salons, because they're the only ones that can afford them. So part of our plan too is to be affordable and simple for the everyday salon, because these salons are the ones that generally tend to need us the most, in my humble opinion. They're the ones that are struggling. And so the more we can help them build a profitable business and systemize, the better for everyone.
Okay. So talk us through the process. I know, you can't physically demonstrate it in front of me at the moment, but talk us through the process of how it works.
Yes, well, so it's very simple to get started. It's easy to set up. Once you're set up, literally all that happens is your stylists input the colours that you're using on the daily, and Colour Bar Manager captures gram for gram the colour you're using in real time in your salon, and then you can replace it at the push of a button. So by that I mean, we do our stock orders now. I have somebody that looks after that for me in my particular salon, but she can sit at home and push the button, and away it goes directly to our supplier or distributor. So the amount of time that we're now investing in stock ordering and managing inventory is infinitely smaller than it ever was before. And that was actually one of my true drivers for creating it. Like, I really just feel like colour bars or colour areas in the salon are a huge place where we hemorrhage money through wastage and not charging correctly, but also through time. We spend so much time trying to manage stock effectively, and putting our orders through. So that's why it was created, and that's how it works in a nutshell. So it does rely on your stylist inputting their colours, and that's probably one of the biggest challenges in getting started, just that little bit of onboarding your team.
Right, okay. Now, fortunately, I'm not a colourist. I've never even really done colour as a hairdresser. So that puts me at a real advantage at the moment, because I'm going to ask you the most simplistic questions as to how this works. Because one of the things you alluded to before was that hairdressers are not very techie. And in the colour area is particularly where they're used to just squeeze a bit of this, squeeze a bit of that, mix it up. Oh, we've run out of this. I'll use this instead. Oh, it's a bit brighter, a bit this, a bit that afterwards. We'll throw a toner on and we'll sort out the mess, right? So that is how so many people work in our industry, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Any of these colour management systems are about, no, you can't do that anymore, because that leads to wastage, too much product being mixed up, redos, etc., etc. So what you've got is, so I'm assuming to start with that you've got all of the different hair color houses, you've got all their brands and their different units of color all uploaded into the app. So if I'm or the website, so if I'm a salon that has taken it on, then the brand of color that I use is going to be in there, or going to be in there shortly if it's not currently in there. Yes. And so let's just say, for example, that I use Paul Mitchell color. And let's just say that now my salon has got the app, I use Paul Mitchell color, then all the Paul Mitchell color, or whatever the brand is, will be uploaded in there in terms of the name of that color and the numbers that it is. So it's easy to find, yeah? So then I've got a bowl and I've got a scale. Is it a proprietary bowl and scale? Is that part of Hair Color Manager, that I get a bowl and a scale?
Yeah, no. Well, so yes and no. So that was one of the things. So going back to my earlier story, when I originally said, the idea came through weighing food, and so then looking around at like what was already out there in the market, we made the decision. We played around with scales, and then we made the decision to actually do away with scales for two reasons. One is they're a little bit problematic. Some days they're great and they connect Bluetooth and, technology in a busy salon. On a good day, it's great. On a bad day, it's not. So we made the decision to actually take away some of those components so that it wasn't as challenging when it comes to using technology. So now it's as simple as the team just input their bowl grams and it captures it for you. So, there's less components, I guess, if you like, from a technology perspective. So all you need in the salon is an iPad or a tablet or a phone or a...
So when you say input their bowl grams, the grams are not being measured. They're not being weighed. Or have I got that wrong?
Yes, they will still weigh them on their scale and then they'll input. Yeah. So if I walk you through what happens in my team, so my team will, let's say they're mixing up a bowl of 6.0 and 20 volume. They will take the 6.0, put their bowl on the scale, take the 6.0, put it into the bowl, and at the same time put 60 grams of 6.0 into Color Bar Manager, then add activator, and it will automatically do the math on the mixation of activator per grams in the bowl and that sort of thing. So it's got some smarts around doing the math for our stylists because they don't like to do that. We're standing at the Color Bar counting how many grams of activator versus grams of color. So we kind of put some things like that in there for them too.
Okay. And it's a Wi-Fi connection?
Yes. Yeah.
So
connection.
Does it talk to your point of sale system? So
it does. No, so it doesn't talk to point of sale at this stage, although that is on our roadmap. That is something that we've been talking about. And a lot of our users are actually asking us to have some kind of connection to point of sale. So what it does have is a financial report in it. So it's very easy for them to put in one number, their turnover for a day, a week, a month, and it will give them what percentage their color bar is running at for that time frame based on that turnover. So they can see that. But we can see the merits of connecting it to point of sale so that they're actually ensuring they capture those extra grams.
Okay. Now, I just want to jump in there and say something because when Americans use the word turnover, they're talking about staff leaving. Okay. Whereas in the rest of the world, we will use the word turnover to mean total sales. Okay. So I just know that someone would have been caught out with that expression. So I just wanted to jump in there and sort of clarify what that's all about. Okay. So sorry, carry on.
Yes. Yeah. So they can, a salon owner can see very quickly, like within a minute, exactly how their color bar numbers are tracking. Whereas in my old world, that used to take me probably half an hour, 40 minutes to input the data in order to get that kind of information out of any systems that we were using.
Okay. So in terms of what it does differently to the other brands that are out there, is it more simplified?
Yes.
Right. So less steps, more simple, whatever.
Less steps, more simple. Much more sort of pared down. Where our number one goal is to be as simple as possible. When you build anything, especially when you build technology, it's really easy to get what I would call feature-itis and keep adding this and making it do this, that, and the other thing. Our aim is to keep ours so simple that it's like 3 or 4 taps of a push button and you're done.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you this about the color records. Where are the color records stored? Are they on the Color Bar Manager app, or are they on the salon's point of sale website?
No, so they're stored on the Color Bar Manager app. So in using Color Bar Manager, you're no longer relying on your team to go and put their notes into the point of sale and all of the things that we want to happen but don't. So it's all captured at the same time. So again, that creates that consistency of client journey. And any client and any stylist chair, and you've got the records. The records are much easier to duplicate, read, understand. It really streamlines that whole process as well in the salon.
Okay, now I'm going to put my salon owner's hat on at the moment
Yeah.
and say to you, but does that mean if I decide to change my color management system, for example, that I no longer have access to all those color records because they're on your app, not on my website, so to speak?
Yes, yeah, no, not at all. In the same way that if you changed point of sale systems, like they all live on that point of sale system, we would give you the data. It's your data still. So we would give you your records or whatever you need upon exit entry, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, so like on a CVS file or something like that. So you can take all the data, so you don't lose the data, right? No. So the salon owner still owns the data.
Yes.
I know from talking to some salon owners, that's a really important issue.
Yes.
And then also around that, again, salon owner hat on, what about security around the client's records? So in other words, as a salon owner, I'm sure you've had people leave you, and I'm sure that, at different times they've taken all the names, addresses, phone numbers, and color records. The color records are the property of the business, not of the stylist, unless those stylists are self-employed. So what security is there around that from the salon owner's perspective?
So again, it's password protected. So you have the salon owner has the ability to add users or administrators to their login or their app, for example. So if a stylist, if you make them a user, they can't see anything. The only thing they can really do is put a formulation in. They can't get any information out. If they're an administrator, they can do all of the things that the salon owner can do. The minute they hand in their resignation, just like a point of sale system, you would remove their access. So in the same way, So the same.
Okay. All right. And how easy is it to set up? Is it all just done online, remotely, or
all done online?
Yeah,
all done online. So we have we've had many different experiences with onboarding people. There have been a lot that just download the app and get started. Maybe fire one or two questions online at us through either email or Instagram chat or whatever that looks like. But for the most part, most get started pretty easily. There's been one or two that are a little bit more technology phobic, I guess, and so they need a bit more hand holding. So we've got like a step-by-step plan within the app on how to get started that they can read and watch and go through. And also we're available. We have help available for people in both time zones. So if they need help getting started or with anything at any time, they can just reach out. Yeah. Okay,
cool. All right. The ordering and inventory management side of things, how does that work? Because that's a sort of a separate thing to the client in your chair and their color records, the inventory, management, stock control, reordering component. Talk to us about that and how you handle that within it.
Yeah, sure. So how that's handled within it is by the very nature of our stylists adding their grams in as they're working, it removes them from your shelf or from what's loaded up into the app. Okay. So then at the end of a week, or let's say you order weekly, at the end of the week, you can simply push a button and replace the color that you've used, or you can replace it up to a minimum or maximum level as set by you. So you can custom order or replace it to the value to which you want. And it will auto-populate your order for you. So it's all done for you based on the data that you've put into Colour Bar Manager already, or based on the information you've put into Colour Bar Manager already. So by that, I mean, when you set up, you would set up your minimum and maximum quantity of any one colour you want to have on your shelf at one time. Mm-hmm. And then when you do an order, you can select, replace all of my colour to my maximum quantities, and it will do that simply by what's been removed through the usage of your stylists.
Okay. A lot of salon owners, some salon owners have issues with product walking. Yes, most. The dispensary doubles up as a lunchroom or something, and that someone thinks, I need to do my mum's colour tonight, I'll just take a tube of such and such off the shelf, and never mind, Janine won't mind. Do you know what I mean? Or Janine won't know. Have you got anything sort of built in around that because obviously you'd have to do a physical stock count and compare that with what the app is telling you, or with what color bar manager is telling you is in there, and what is actually in there might be two different things. Is the only way around that to do a physical stock count to cross-reference it?
And essentially, yes. However, because the numbers are, it's so clear, you can manage it by the day, by the week, by the month. So it's very easy to track if anything does go missing, as opposed to like a fair, like it's much more data driven. So there's less emotion around. We're always running out of this, or we never have that. And or should something go missing, it's traceable very, very quickly. And if stock is taken or removed and it's not recorded through Colour Bar Manager, then it won't get replaced when we order. So the impact that starts to have on a salon is huge. So by that, like my team, for example, let's say they don't put colours into Colour Bar Manager, it won't get ordered in the next order. So therefore,
it
the
impacts on them. Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was sort of one of the things I was just going to ask you, and I think you've already answered it, which is, as you started out on this journey and started developing a prototype and then working with it in your salon, I was going to ask you, were there any things that came up that you thought, oh, I didn't anticipate that, but that's a great feature. That's a great add-on. That's a great benefit from using this. Was there anything else?
Oh my gosh, so many things. I've learned. It's been a wild ride. I've learned so much. Like, you have your own ways and systems and things that you do within your own salon. And I tend to be quite rule book, I guess, when it comes to mixing colors and how I would mix them. But certainly when you're building technology, you're putting formulation into it. So you're giving it rules, right? So I've learned that stylists out there do a myriad of crazy things when it comes to mixing color. So we've had to be very adaptable when it comes to mixing activators together or mixing different brands together, all of these crazy kind of things that I would never think to do. So that's been really interesting. And we've had to kind of adapt the way in which we program Colour Bar Manager so that it works for the masses.
Now I'm thinking as you're talking about that as you perfect something that you set out to make very simple, that you made a point of saying that was your number one guiding philosophy. This has to be simple, because I might be wrong, but I'm reading between the lines and hearing that you're saying that because it's simple, it's also available at a lower price point than competition maybe. I don't know if that is the case or not. Am I correct with that? Right. Okay.
Yes.
So because you're keeping it simple, you can do it at a lower price point. But as you develop it and perfect it, it's like, oh, but what if we did this? And what if we did that? And what if we did the other? And so all of a sudden it is in danger of becoming not so simple. Anything is. It's in danger of not becoming so simple as you find these good ideas to add to the functionality of it. But I suppose, so what am I asking you? I suppose I'm asking you, is your philosophy written on the wall, keep it simple? Do you know what I mean? So that it stops you getting too clever and trying to make it too sophisticated, because then you're sort of just becoming another Me Too. Is that right?
Yeah, most definitely. Definitely. So it needs to be simple. So when we're testing any new feature or even discussing the potential of adding a new feature or to the app, the main thing is that it needs to be simple. If it's not simple, or if it requires too much thought or too much in-depth action by the user, it doesn't usually get across the line. So it has to be simple, because it's very easy. When you start building technology, it's so easy to add more and more and more layers to it, which actually defeats the purpose sometimes of having it. When you have to, like, the whole idea of bringing technology into this business or salons is to simplify and systemize things for us. So we use Colour Bar Manager to do just exactly that. For a long time, there was no technology. We'd embraced it in many other areas of our salons, yet somehow we'd forgotten the Colour Bar. And because we're relying on our stylists to use it, it needs to be so simple for them. When you walk a mile in a really busy salon, they have not got time to really think about what they're doing on top of what they're already doing, if that makes sense. The expectations from the clients, the hair they've got to deliver today, the service they've got to give, the rapport they've got to build, all of the things that they're already having to capture in that moment with that client, the last thing they need is hard technology in order to be a system. So that's very much first and foremost in our minds.
Yeah.
Yes, we need to give the reports and the data and the things that the salon owner needs to make data-driven decisions for profit.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, we need to make sure that it's stylist friendly, because they are the ones that need to use it every day.
Use it. Yeah. I was talking to a salon owner. He'll listen to this at some stage, and he was saying to me, Anthony, Saturday morning, our salon is rammed. 9 o'clock Saturday morning, it is absolutely jammed. And a lot of those clients are in for colour. And at 9 o'clock, if I've got 6, 7, 8 people in the dispensary trying to mix up things, weigh things, can I have the scale, so to speak, it creates more problems than it solves. So, and I empathise with him. The obvious answer is we need more scales. But you need 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 scales. But as he pointed out to me, but Anthony, they all come at a cost, and he's right.
So this is where we are more simple than other things that are on the market. So you can use any scale, and what happens in my salon is, for the 80% of the time, my stylist, or for most of our users, put their recipes in as they're going. So they'll put their formulas in as they're mixing and about to go and start a colour. The odd time when it's really busy, or they can log in a bit later and put their colour formula grams into the app at any time. So they can be sitting on the bus on the way home, just like they used to put their notes in, but now they put the grams into Colour Bar Manager.
Okay, all right. What are the resistance points that you find that salon owners or colourists have around using colour management systems? Not just yours, any. And I think you've already talked about it, but I'm just waiting to see if you say the same thing.
The biggest challenge is onboarding your team, without doubt. It's changing habits in the salon. So salon owners, or anyone that manages money or time in the salon, they're motivated. So they're extremely motivated to make this work and get it up and running. Getting your team on board is the hardest challenge. No more so than implementing any system in a salon, though, I would say. It just is changing habits and making sure that you sort of educate them through it, step them through it, and support them through it, and give them the time. So I always say it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to onboard your team, usually, to change those habits over, a daily, weekly, monthly time frame. But like any system, the opposite side of hard is where the promised land lives. So once you actually get it up and running, and with a small amount of pain for those first maybe week or two, and then it starts to ease and it gets better, and then it becomes a daily habit and it's done. It's, Okay,
good. Yeah. What does the client see? Do they see anything different?
They don't see anything different, no. Not at this stage anyway. Like, our roadmap's quite huge with regard to that. We see some possibilities and things that we could bring into Colour Bar Manager there. But no, it literally is a stylist tool. It's, with the added benefits for a salon owner, it's not client facing at this stage.
Right, got it.
So the client doesn't see anything, but Colour Bar Manager does 100% capture. It can price your services for you, so you can see exactly how much profit you're making based on the time and the amount of colour you're using per customer in your salon. So it will do that for you, which that's actually a part of the tool that is of high value to a lot of salon owners, because it's a question I get asked all the time. How do I know how much money to charge for my balayage or my foils or my retouch or my retouch application? So it will do that for you. And once you put those numbers in there, it will allow you to see how much you should be charging per application for each service. But the client doesn't see that.
But so does the client see that they might have been charged a different amount last time, more or less, because more or less product was used?
They will, potentially the client might know that, but for us, that's a conversation the stylist would have with the client. If I can use my salon as an example to keep it easy, we would, in Colour Bar Manager, we'll put in what services they're having today, and then that will throw at us the cost of that service based on how many grams we're going to use and the time they're in the salon, and we'll pre-quote that to the client before we get started. We always pre-quote our clients before we get started, so everyone's on the same page before the service begins today.
Got it. Okay. Cost from a salon owner's point of view, is it a subscription-based thing? How does that work?
It is subscription-based, yes. So it is a monthly subscription, and the cost is $29 US a month. So for what we're offering, we know we're highly affordable. Going back to my earlier point, we wanted to be available to everyone and anyone that needs to put a system into their salon.
So $29 a month, whether you've got 5 stylists using it, 1 stylist using it, 20 stylists using it, for the salon, it's $29 a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
wow.
Our pricing ethos also is based on keep it simple. So you can have 1 salon, you can have 10 salons, you can have 1 team member, you can have 50. It doesn't matter to us. So
right. Okay.
Yeah, so it's a very simple pricing model. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's very interesting. Now, last thing I wanted to ask you about was when I was trying to find out more about you, you were hard to find out about, meaning you were hard to find. On social media, you're not called Colour Bar Manager, no matter how you spell it. You're called Salon Auntie.
Yes.
So what's all that about? Explain that, because people are going to want to check you out. And I'm going to put, your website details and your Instagram and your Facebook, etc., in the show notes. So over to you. You explain to us, why is it called the Salon Auntie or Salon Auntie?
So actually, when you reached out to me originally, we were Colour Bar Manager, and all of our branding was Colour Bar Manager.
Yeah.
However, we have just relaunched and rebranded. So Salon Auntie is our way forward. So not only will Colour Bar Manager be part of Salon Auntie, but we are on a mission to provide apps, tools, and resources and guides for all things salon business to salons. So
okay.
Our proposition is that our membership kind of model will remain the same, but people will get a lot more value. So, we're looking at adding so many more tools and apps and things to our product offering. The name Salon Auntie is, because ask Auntie. Salon Auntie will help you out. She's a mentor, she's a guide, she's unbiased. Salon Auntie is a bit of a rebrand. But Colour Bar Manager is our master tool, or the jewel in our crown, if you like. So
okay, well that makes sense. That now makes sense to me. So where can people connect with you? Where can they find out about Salon Auntie and indeed Colour Bar Manager?
Yeah, sure thing. So Instagram is probably the quickest, easiest place to find us. So we have our Salon Auntie page, which is salon_auntie. Auntie spelled I-E, not Y. So that's the easiest way to find us. And through that platform, you'll find Colour Bar Manager. And then I also have my own Instagram page, which is hairbiz1010. So people can find me there and message me through that platform as well.
Okay, got it. All right. Well, I will put those links for your social platforms in the show notes for today's podcast. So before we start to wrap up, Janine, anything that I haven't asked you that you think is relevant?
I don't think so. I think we've covered a lot today, actually, Anthony, which has been great. I just really encourage salon owners to seek help with any kind of systems that they need in their salons, because, like I said earlier, once you put them into place, that's where freedom lives. Freedom lives on the opposite side of putting in good systems. So
I couldn't agree more. I think that's exactly the case. And I mean, I purposefully drilled down on those questions because I want to know, I want to understand it. And I think sometimes a lot of people listen to things and they get this sort of general gist, but they have all these what ifs. So hopefully I have answered as many of their what ifs as possible. So thanks for your time. We've really appreciated having you on the podcast today. If you are listening to this podcast with Janine and you've enjoyed it, do me a favor, share it with others that you know will benefit from listening. And don't forget to subscribe and leave us a rating and review on the Apple Podcast app. So to wrap up, Janine Simons, thank you so much for being on this week's episode of the Grow My Salon Business podcast.
Absolute pleasure, Anthony. Thanks so much for having me. It's been great.